ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। शुश्रूषोषददानस्य नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। शुश्रूषोषददानस्य वासुदेवकथारुचिः स्यान्महत्सेवया विप्रा पुण्यतीर्थनिषेवनात् शृण्वता स्वकतः कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृद्यन्तस्तो ह्यभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सताम् नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी तदा रजस्तमो भावा कामलोभादयश्च ये चेत एतैरनाविद्धं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति एवं प्रसन्नमनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगतः भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते विद्यते हृदयग्रन्थिश्छिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Okay, so because we have 1 hour today, so maybe we could offer some more prayers. I'm trying to share screen. 1 second. Well, okay, I'm not able to pull up. Okay, we'll just offer prayers now. These prayers are from Srila Sanatan Goswami to Srimad Bhagavatam. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satfala Sarva Siddhantaratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidvantodidaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostute Madeka Bandhu Matsangin Madguru Manmahadana Mannishtaraka Madbhagya Madananda Namostute Asadu Sadhu Tadayin अति नीचोच्चताकरा आनमुञ्च कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्ण हृत्कण्ठयोस्फुरा. Okay, we'll start with today's verse. We've been discussing Canto 1, Chapter 15, and today's verse is Canto 1, Chapter 15, verse number 15. Okay, so this is a chapter of Pandavas retiring timely, as we all have been hearing. Here in the last chapter, Yudhishthir Maharaj was, asking Arjuna about what happened? Why are you looking so down and distressed? Did somebody insult you? Were you not able to protect the ladies? Were you not able to provide for the elders? So he asks all these wonderful questions, or the valid reasons to be depressed in one sense. So then in this chapter, Arjuna starts speaking, and he expresses his intense separation from Krishna. He expresses strong feelings of separation from Krishna, and then he starts recollecting or remembering all the experiences that he has had with Krishna. What all Krishna has done for him, all the favors, all the mercy that he received, and all the intimate dealings that they have had. So that's what is happening, and we are towards the last few verses of his um, you know remembrance. So uh, we are going to read now from Srila Prabhupada the verse itself, and the translation and purport from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:15:15. Yo Bhishma Karna Guru Shalya Chamushvadabra Rajanyavarya Mandala Manditashu Agrecharo Mama Vibhoratayutapanam Ayurmama Ayurmanamsi Chadrisha Saha Oja Archat. Once more. So 1:15:15. Yo Bhishma Karna Guru Shalya Chamushvad Adabra Rajanyavarya Mandala Manditasu Agrecharo Mama Vibhoratayutapanam Ayurmanamsi Chadrisha Saha Oja Archat. Synonyms: Yaha, it is he only; Bhishma, Bhishma; Karna, Karna; Guru, Dronacharya; Shalya, Shalya; Chamushu, in the midst of military phalanx; Adabra, immense; Rajanyavarya, great royal princess; Ratha Mandala, chain of chariots; Manditasu, being decorated with; Agecharaha, going forward; Mama, of mine; Vibho, O great king; Rata Yuta Panam, all the charioteers; Ayuhu, duration of life or fruitive activities; Manamsi, mental upsurges; Cha, also; Drisha, by glance; Sahaha, power; Ojaha, strength; Archat, withdrew. Translation: It was he only who withdrew the duration of life from everyone, and who, in the battlefield, withdrew the speculative power and strength of enthusiasm from the great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Shalya, etc. Their arrangement was expert and more than adequate, but he, Lord Sri Krishna, while going forward, did all this. Purport: The absolute personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, expands himself by his plenary Paramatma portion in everyone's heart, and thus he directs everyone in the matter of recollection, forgetfulness, knowledge, the absence of intelligence, and all psychological activities. Bhagavad Gita 15:15. As the Supreme Lord, he can increase or decrease the duration of life of a living being. Thus, the Lord conducted the battle of Kurukshetra according to his own plan. He wanted that battle he wanted that battle to establish Yudhishthir as the emperor of this planet, and to facilitate this transcendental business, he killed all who were on the opposite party by his omnipotent will. The other party was equipped with all military strength, supported by big generals like Bhishma, Drona, and Shalya, and it would have been physically impossible for Arjuna to win the battle had the Lord not helped him by every kind of tactic. Such tactics are generally followed by every statesman, even in modern warfare, but they're all done materially by powerful espionages, military tactics, and diplomatic maneuvers. But because Arjuna was the Lord's affectionate devotee, the Lord did all this himself without personal anxiety by Arjuna. That is the way of devotional service to the Lord. Okay, reading the translation once more. It was he only who withdrew the duration of life from everyone, and who, in the battlefield, withdrew the speculative power and strength of enthusiasm from the great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Shalya, etc. Their arrangement was expert and more than adequate, but he, Lord Sri Krishna, while going forward, did all this. So, very beautiful verse expressing Arjuna's um, remembering of the battlefield, and this is great. Actually, he had had many intimate dealings, which will come in the several verses to follow. I mean, few verses to follow, and but this is also one of his most intimate connection with Krishna. That's in the battlefield, how things actually manifested. Um, it's very noticeable that he was appreciating this in the battlefield, and that's why he is able to remember and appreciate it now, or after the fact. you know. If he couldn't appreciate, or if he took credit for everything by himself, then he wouldn't be able to appreciate it even later, or it wouldn't be this strong. This feeling of connection that he has wouldn't be that strong. So what is Arjuna saying here is he's saying that he chooses very nice words to say also. Um, yeah, one second, I'm pulling up the verse again. Yeah, so he's saying that he withdrew the duration of life from everyone. That's first point. Everyone in the battlefield who was in the opposite party basically. And then he said he withdrew the speculative power, he withdrew the strength. Speculative power is in Sanskrit sahaha. Strength is ojaha. What kind of strength is it? Strength of enthusiasm, not just the physical strength. And he did this from the great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by all these wonderful, powerful generals. Then how did he do it? That arrangement was expert, more than adequate. How did he do it? He did it with his glance. When we see in the verse, um, yeah, he says, Drisha, or by glance, actually, he withdrew everything. That's quite interesting. He did not, because he took a vow to not fight Krishna, and he didn't need to even fight, actually. So he took it away from the power of his glance. He took away their ayu, that is duration of life or fruitive activities, and then sahaha, power, and ojaha, strength. So the way this is explained, we'll also get into the purport how Prabhupada explains this. But Prabhupada actually comes straight to the point in the first few sentences of the purport itself. The absolute personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, expands himself by his plenary Paramatma portion in everyone's heart. So Krishna is standing there in the battlefield, and Arjuna is now thinking, how did he do it? He was just standing in front of, I mean, not standing even, he was sitting in the chariot in front of me. He was a charioteer. So to me, he was a charioteer. And then he did all this for the opposite party without even getting up from the seat of chariot, And when we see the uh, uh, verse, the opposite party had Ratha Mandala. Ratha Mandala is chain of chariots. So many, there was like Rajanya Varya, there are great royal princes, and this military phalanx with lots of chain of chariots, right? When we just imagine the painting that we have in, Bhagavad Gita book, there are like a few different paintings of Kurukshetra war, and one of them is just like Krishna and Arjuna and standing in the middle, and then both sides are just military phalanx or the army. And when we see, it's like ocean of army, so it's like chain of chariots. And in the middle of all this chain of chariots, Krishna didn't get up, he didn't speak to anybody, he was sitting in the chariot that he was actually driving, Arjuna. And in the middle of all this, how did he do this? How did he decrease the duration of life from everyone of the Kaurava party? And how did he, withdrew their speculative power and strength of enthusiasm? These three are very important, right? Speculative power means to critical think and then just to calculate what is the other person going to do now. So accordingly, I put my step forward. Basically, that's warfare. Guessing and speculating also to some extent. What is the other person going to do, and what should be my attack? It's almost like that power is withdrawn in the battlefield is a big thing. And strength of enthusiasm, we can all recollect how the strength of enthusiasm, um, that plays a vital role in warfare also. That's why there is this chivalrous talks and um, triggering or motivating each other, not exactly motivating but triggering the opposite party, come on, fight, and these kind of statements to just like bring that passion and enthusiasm out. So these were withdrawn by Krishna. And how did he do it is what Prabhupada explains to us, that he expands himself by his plenary Paramatma portion in everyone's heart. So uh, he's situated as Paramatma in everyone's heart, even in the hearts of the people who are on the other side, on the Kauravas, right? So the only difference is over there, when somebody is not connected to Krishna or surrendered to Krishna, his he takes a neutral position in the heart of the living entity. He's not going to be guiding, but he's going to be just sanctioning. So the desires of the living entity to lord of the material nature, and based on their karma and guna, he's going to sanction. Not like every single desire is going to be granted. That will be granted according to one's karma also, what one deserves also. So that is on the side of the persons or living entities who haven't taken shelter of him. He's just sanctioning. He's just okay. You did this, you're supposed to get this, but you can only deserve this. So he is not the one who's just deciding and giving punishment, or not like, he's not like a cruel punishing person, the Paramatma, but he's a constant witness and sanctioner. Upadrishta and Anumanta. Upadrishta is supervision and or witness, and Anumanta is like giving permission or allowing or sanctioning. These two are happening for lifetimes, and this um, particular lifetime of Karna or Shalya or all these people over there on the other side, they are only thinking of their lifetime right now at that particular time. But Krishna or Paramatma knows them from several lifetimes. So accordingly, he sanctions, right? So how does he sanction, or how does he um, do this practically? When we see is how does it manifest? Prabhupada covers the next sentence that he directs everyone in the matter of recollection, forgetfulness, knowledge, the absence of intelligence, and all psychological activities. So he quotes the famous Bhagavad Gita 15:15 verse. Many of us know this verse, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishto. Mattaha, from me, Krishna says. Basically, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishto. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter, 15th verse, that I am situated, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi, situated in the heart of all the living entities. And from me, Mattaha, Smriti, that is remembrance, Jnanam, that is knowledge, Apohanam, forgetfulness comes. So he says, from me, the remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge comes. And Vedaischa Sarvair Aham Eva Vedyaha. By studying all the Vedas, Vedas just survey all the Vedas. What is one supposed to be knowing? Is me, Aham Eva Vedya. And then he says, this is confirmed Vedanta Krit Vedavid Eva Chaham. This is, I'm the knower of Vedas, I'm to be known. And actually, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, Vedanta Krit Vedavid. I'm the compiler of Vedanta. We know that Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa was the compiler of Vedanta, and this particular uh, Vyasadeva is an incarnation of Krishna himself. So that's what he says there. And even in that purport, actually, Prabhupada very nicely explains about this whole um, forgetfulness and how Krishna directly gets involved in um, sanctioning the remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge of a person based on their guna karma, right, and inclinations, and the level of surrender. So here we are seeing that he took away some of these things from the Kaurava army. What did he take away? What did he give? If we just even think of few instances in Kurukshetra battlefield on the Kauravas side, we know the famous, or like Acharya, Dronacharya. How did he leave? He lost his strength of enthusiasm, the ojaha, right? Krishna withdrew, or Paramatma withdrew the strength of enthusiasm. How did he withdrew? Because Dronacharya, if we think about Dronacharya, he actually trained his enemy's son to kill him. So that's the level of what do you call the power of the Brahmanical power of Dronacharya, right? He wasn't he was not like an ordinary teacher, or like a weak person or something. He was very strong personality, and he trained Drishtadyumna, and under Drishtadyumna's guidance, the whole Pandavas army is now formed, Drupada's son. And we read this in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So such a person, just by hearing that Ashwatthama is dead or left or something like that, or killed, so he leaves everything. He lost his enthusiasm to fight because of his son being taken away in the warfare, or killed in the warfare. That's the news, at least. It's not, it's Hare Krishna. Hare Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mata, we can hear you, Mata.
Okay,
Now
thank
we
you.
can hear you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, my headphones stopped working. So. Okay. Yeah, so Dronacharya. So he lost his enthusiasm to fight. Similarly, if we think of, Karna also, right? How did his enthusiasm was broken? It was broken by Shalya, who actually spoke, discouraging words to Karna, right? And this was all sanctioned by Krishna. And this whole decrease in enthusiasm of these two generals was so important. And that was appropriate also. It was not like Krishna was partial or something. He sanctioned according to their level of surrender, and he sanctioned according to the mission, the purpose, the whole overall mission of the whole thing, why this whole battle is happening. There is a big picture behind all this, right? So similarly, he also awarded remembrance to Bhishma Dev. There's so many dynamics happen in this Kurukshetra battlefield, and he took away the speculative power of, he took away the power of Duryodhan in one sense. At one point, he was just, when we see in Bhagavad Gita, first chapter, Duryodhan starts talking about his army. Oh, I have this person, I have that person, I have the other person, everything. But he lost the point that actually Krishna is on the other side. So there's no victory for us, because the person who is, who wins over Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Tatra Pato Dhanurdhara, right? And when both these people, Yogeshwara Krishna and Dhanurdhara, that is Arjuna, are there, that's where victory lies. So this whole intelligence is, it was not there from the beginning. It was clouded for Duryodhan, but in the battlefield also he didn't get it. So that, like that, he actually did all this magically, but that magic, Prabhupada explains, as Paramatma he did that, right? So we'll go forward. I think it's 7:30 already. So the next sentence that Prabhupada says is, as the Supreme Lord, he can increase or decrease the duration of life of a living being. Thus, the Lord conducted the battle of Kurukshetra according to his own plan. He wanted that battle to establish Yudhishthir as the emperor of this planet, and to facilitate this transcendental business, he killed all who were on the opposite party by his omnipotent will. So here also we should notice that ultimately Krishna is the Krishna factor is the important factor for any activity to be completed. If Krishna is not there, then that activity is not completed, whether one acknowledges it or not acknowledges it. So here Prabhupada is saying that he can increase or decrease the duration of life of a living being. This doesn't mean Krishna takes away the free will of a person. We hear Mare Krishna Rake Ke, Rake Krishna Mare Ke, right? When Krishna wants to kill someone, who can save? And when Krishna wants to save someone, who can kill? And we also hear this from which chapter? Okay, I'm blackout. But yeah, and Prahlad Maharaj also says this, right? When if a parent wants to save a child, if a physician wants to save a patient, if anybody who is in the protecting side or maintaining side wants to do something for the dependent, one cannot do it without Krishna sanctioning. If Krishna doesn't sanction, nothing happens. Whether one may be a big, powerful protector or an intelligent physician or anything, any intelligence or ability one has would work only if Krishna is there. And in 18th chapter also we hear from Bhagavad Gita that there are 5 factors
for any activity to be completed, and ultimately super souls is the main factor. So, but this doesn't take away one's free will. Krishna is not like a whimsical person. Okay, I don't like this person, I'll take away from him. I like this person, I'll give to him. It's not like that. But each person's ye yatamam prapadyanti, each person, how much ever they reciprocate with Krishna, that much he also reciprocates. So the choice that the army of Kauravas made that choice to be on that side and not on this side. So there were several kings who just joined hands with Duryodhan. So everybody on that side became, victims to this, super souls, what do you call it, like dealings, taking and giving, taking away their memory and intelligence and strength of enthusiasm and giving, discouragement, basically. So this whole thing is happening in the battlefield. And Srila Prabhupada explains further how powerful was the other party. The other party was equipped with all military strength, supported by big generals like Bhishma, Drona, Shalya, and it would have been physically impossible for Arjuna to win over the battle, without Krishna's help. So this also we know that this whole warfare was not simply, the demand of Yudhishthir. They tried their best to do the peace mission. They actually tried all their life. And finally, even after the exile, they sent Krishna as a messenger, and Krishna went and nothing worked. Instead, Duryodhan and Karna tried to capture Krishna to put him in the jail. With, this is absolutely atrocious. So, but according to their desire, they tried, but the desire was sinful and the activity was also improper and inappropriate. So then the war was inevitable. It wasn't like Krishna is not like a warmonger or somebody. So the war was inevitable to establish the righteous, rule, righteous kingdom, as we see in Bhagavad Gita. Why does it descend? Dharma samsthapanarthaya, right? So he wants to establish Sanatana Dharma or religious principles. So for that, there is a need for a leader who also abides by or who lives by, Sanatana Dharma principles. And Duryodhan was certainly not the one. So Yudhishthir had to take up, and there was no other way. So then this war was inevitable. So, and when we compare the military of both parties, Duryodhan had so many more Akshauhinis, or Akshauhini is like one set of army. I forget the details now, but he had more, I think 11 or something, and Pandavas had only 7 teams, just imbalance in even the military army strength. So Kauravas strength of army, number of people were also more, and also the personalities were also really, not ordinary personalities. Bhishma is not an ordinary personality. There are so many wonderful, powerful fighters on the other side. So considering all this, how is it possible if Krishna did not do this? It's impossible for Arjuna. Arjuna was also not ordinary person, but still compared to the other party, the intensity of the other person's, like how Dronacharya also leaves his body at will, and Bhishma chooses the time to leave. So Karna is full of enmity at this point. Just his whole agenda from the beginning of his youth till he, came to the battlefield, his whole interest is just killing Arjuna. So when someone is so much held up in vengeance, right? So how much power they have, and Arjuna and the Yudhishthira Maharaj and all these Pandavas, how they did it is because of Krishna's tactics. And many tactics Krishna played we will read in, we read in Mahabharata how he did this sunset. He postponed the sun. He did a slight sunset, illusory sunset, and then again sun came up and Jayadratha was killed in this gap. So this whole thing happened because of Krishna's tactics, Prabhupada says. Then Prabhupada brings the point of such tactics are generally followed by every statesman. But Prabhupada also gives the difference that they are done materially, in this Kali Yuga, everything is done for one's own material profit. But Krishna did this to establish Dharma Samsthapanata, to establish Sanatan Dharma. And why did he do it on the side of Arjuna? Because Arjuna was an affectionate devotee. Not out of just personal favor or something, but we have to notice if Krishna wants to establish Sanatan Dharma, what is Sanatan Dharma of every living entity? Every living entity's dharma is to connect with Krishna and act in relationship with Krishna. And here Arjuna was doing it. So that's why Krishna supported Arjuna, because that is the natural constitutional position of all living entities. So if the leader is doing that, naturally the followers will be guided to do that. So then last sentence, I think, the Lord did all this himself without personal anxiety by Arjuna. Arjuna was just doing his part. He was just doing his, battle. And this whole thing was happening without even his asking Krishna, can you do this? Can you do this? No, he did not even ask Krishna, can you please, decrease the enthusiasm of this person? Can you please reduce the power of that person? He didn't ask. He fought. After hearing the Bhagavad Gita, he understood his duty. He fought. He did it as a service. And Krishna took care of the results without the personal anxiety by Arjuna. So that is the way of devotional service. That's what Prabhupada is explaining the purport. That's the last sentence. That is the way of devotional service. So we see also in Prabhupada, when he established or when he tried to, share Krishna consciousness with everyone, he started at a very, very difficult place, not having a proper accommodation, not having proper facility, no support even from his own god brothers. There was nothing and no money. So, but Prabhupada did it as a service to his spiritual master, and Krishna reciprocated to a, to a large, the whole manifestation of International Society of Krishna Consciousness. This is not ordinary, that within the time frame of 11 years, an Acharya at that age comes to a foreign land and establishes this and takes this back to his own, the land from he appeared like in India. Initially, India did not welcome Prabhupada that much. Now the whole world is Prabhupada's audience. So how did this happen? Because Prabhupada kept up, and then the whole reciprocation manifested from Krishna's side. So in this verse, we are reading, to just summarize, that Arjuna is now recollecting all the wonderful favors that he has received, or the Pandavas and the whole army has received from Krishna, and how Krishna empowered them and disempowered the Kauravas side. And how did he do that? He reduced the strength of enthusiasm from the Kauravas, and he reduced the duration of life, and he also reduced the speculative power of the warriors on that side. And Prabhupada explains why did he do that? He did that according to their guna karma as a super soul sanctioning and supervising. He did that as a neutral super soul, not like according to his own whim or something. And in the purport, Prabhupada elaborates on how he did that was by sanctioning forgetfulness or remembrance, or withdrawing of intelligence or giving of knowledge So matta smriti jnanam apohanam. With these things, he actually interacts with the living entity and sanctions and awards their activities. So that's the point here. And the mood of Arjuna is really desperate or strong feelings of separation. We'll see more beautiful verses coming up in this feelings of separation. So with that, I will conclude here. If any discussion points are there, we can try to discuss. Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Jayanth Prabhu.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept mine too. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Just have one doubt. So that Ashwatthama, right, like killing the elephant, and that was like a blatant lie.
Mm-hmm.
That Yudhishthir Maharaj had to tell, just for the Dharma Samstapana, what to win the war, right? For the ultimate goal. So it's against the basic principles that have been taught as Vaishnavas, not to tell lie. You won't get food the mouth that tells lie. But how? Yeah, we are not Krishna, and we don't know what is what is the final dharma we are trying to establish. But there are situations where you're forced to tell a lie, which you think is the dharma there. But if it's done at the wrong place, it can fire back and have pretty bad consequences. So I'm just thinking, in this case for Dronacharya, maybe what if it turned into like a more vengeance, right? Like instead of more vengeance, and what if he really became destructive and increased the power? That's just I'm not sure where to draw the line, and what constitutes dharma samstapna to tell a lie, right?
So are you asking about Dronacharya, or are you asking about ourselves?
No, I'm asking about ourselves, right? Yeah, Krishna is supreme, and he knows what is coming, what is the past, how to deal that situation. And if Yudhishthir Maharaj was forced to tell that, I don't know the right term, but a lie, if I'm not using the right term, or deceive, right? To deceive Dronacharya's emotions, right?
Yeah. So the first thing to begin with is Dronacharya situation and Yudhishthir situation. So when an order comes from the supreme authority, that is Krishna, and why are we practicing truthfulness, or why are we practicing any quality? It is to please Krishna. It is for acting in relationship with him. That's the only reason we practice any quality, or at least, that is Sanatan Dharma. And so when Krishna himself said, there is some reason for it, and so there's no question about not doing it. Ultimately, if our act, any quality that we have, humility or any positive quality that we may have, if it's drawing us closer to Krishna, then that is favorable. If it is not drawing us closer to Guru and Krishna, that's again another string of accumulating more karma. So That's first thing that I just want to share. When it comes to practicality for our lives, every situation is different, and there cannot be a cookie cutter answer for, okay, this is what we are supposed to do in all circumstances. That's not, I don't think anyone can say that. That's why we need spiritual guides with whom we can confide our situation, and with whom we can come to some kind of clarity with discussion with them, what is appropriate in each situation, and what is truthfulness, what is chastity, and where to repose my chastity and truthfulness, and what what would be the consequences of doing this or not doing this. This can be discussed in consultation with spiritual master and spiritual guides. That's the importance of having somebody closer to help us through or navigate through our life with these principles. We cannot generalize a principle without knowing the details of the circumstances. So this is like this is what I can share. But the principle is drawing closer, or is it pulling us away from our relationship with Guru and Krishna? That's most important. But at the same time, applying this depends on each circumstance and each personality, and what is the level of involvement in each situation. So the details need to be discussed. So that's my response, Prabhu.
Thanks for the convincing answer, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Any other points?
Hare Krishna Mata, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances. Prabhu, all glories to Prabhupada.
Mata, I have two different questions. One is more a comment. My understanding until now, was to do your work or prescribed duty and leave results to Krishna. And it really did not mean much to me in practice. However, when I heard from you, it had a profound impact. You explained that we need to execute our work or prescribed duty without anxiety. And these words really have a applicability in practice. So, thank you for that. Hopefully, I'll be able to turn this into actual actions. Thank you, Mata. And my second question, my actual question is about, Abhimanyu. You were saying that Krishna was reducing and orchestrating a lot of things happening, in fact, everything on the battlefield. If that is the case, the question comes up, why did he allow Abhimanyu to be killed in such a deceitful manner? And more than that, my question is, how do we understand it? So I just want your understanding and explanation on that.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the comment and the question. So the comment itself, the appreciation that you have for the statement that I made is not my statement. It's in the purport. Srila Prabhupada says it was done without, Krishna did all this without the anxiety of Arjuna. So that's what I repeated. And it's very profound, actually. Not easy to live by all the time, but it's lesson. And the question is about
Abhimanyu.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
there must be something. There will be some reason. Definitely, there will be some reason which is beyond our comprehension and speculation. I don't know the past life of Abhimanyu. I mean, what to speak of Abhimanyu? Okay, Abhimanyu was in the battlefield. So in the battlefield, a warrior goes with the, with the, what do you call, intention to do or die kind of a thing, right? But Think about all the 5 sleeping sons after the
Yes.
war.
Yes.
That is also cruel, you know.
Yes.
Ashwatthama did that, you know. So we don't know who these personalities were in the past, and I don't know their, you know, intricacies of their karma and all those kind of things. I do not know, so I cannot answer. But
Yeah.
in general, a principle is that each living entity's, each living entity receives that, but their particular share or quota according to their investment in their previous life. So
Yeah.
that's the only, it's a general principle. Again, we don't know the details. And ultimately, even our desire to fructify, there needs to be a sanction given by Krishna. You know, we don't have power of it. That's what it means when we hear that Krishna gives or takes away. This whole thing is not like, again, it's not whimsical from Krishna's side. And it also just implies that every living entity, no matter how powerful or not powerful, is dependent. We are dependent, actually. Only the desire is on our side, you know, and rest to even to take a blink, it's Krishna's sanction, because like, you know, that all our senses are even governed by different demigods, and the power for them to make our power of locomotion, power of vision, power of hearing, all these things to work, power of the demigods is given by Krishna. So in that sense, he is the sanctioner. So there must be some background which we are not aware.
Yeah, Mata, thank you for clarifying it. Actually, when you were saying that, I was remembering Bhagavad Gita 7.28, Isham Tva Antagatam Papam, that verse. So thank you for helping me understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks for bringing up the discussion. This is a bewilderment or like amazement, however we want to look at, even at our own lives. Certain things happen without we really doing something. We get some results without even we, did something in this lifetime. And we wonder, why did I get this? I mean, why am I facing this? Why is this coming to me at this point? I didn't even do anything to get this reaction. So, but the principle is nothing comes, like nobody just randomly punishes or randomly gives his reaction, or and even material energy doesn't just randomly give anything to us. So cruel, stringent and cruel kind of a material nature also is not cruel or stringent, just acting according to what we did. It's like Newton's law, right? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction that comes to us, but we forget. At least I don't remember what I did in the past. When certain reactions come today, I have to take it in principle that I must have done something really horrible. So this is coming to me. So now, well, when this comes to me, how am I to face is what I need to learn today. How am I to face is given in the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, in all the cantos, and we hear repeatedly from first canto, from Parikshit Maharaj's response, and from Narada Muni's response to situations of distress, and we hear from all these cantos. In third canto, Devahuti's response, and Dhruva's response in fourth canto. There's so many responses. Chitraketu Maharaj's response in the sixth canto. Going like this, reading, studying Bhagavatam helps us to ground ourselves to respond properly now. Even though we may be facing something that, some reaction for an action that we don't even remember. But right now, what action are we going to take is what matters. So anyway, this was not at all it's nothing related to Abhimanyu, but I'm just saying. the topic.
Yeah, thank you, Mata. Thank you for clarifying
Thank
it.
you, Prabhu. Thank you. Any other last thought? Okay. So here is our verse again that we did today, 1:15:15. Prabhupada's translation is, "It was he only who withdrew the duration of life from everyone, and who, in the battlefield, withdrew the speculative power and strength of enthusiasm from the great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Shalya, etc. Their arrangement was expert and more than adequate, but he, Lord Sri Krishna, while going forward, did all this." And we also see from the verse that he did all this with his glance. So he stole by his glance the karma, the speculative power of the mindset, and the strength of enthusiasm to fight, and even the power to take up the weapons to fight. He did all this by his glance. So, and Arjuna is amazed by Krishna's mercy and how he manifested that mercy, the way he did it. He's amazed. He was sitting in front of me as a charioteer driver, and his influence, he took away all this. And how did he do this? So he's just, stunned again, thinking about Krishna's favors, what he did to them. So that's the verse that we did today, and we'll continue more tomorrow with the next set of verses. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and extending your association. Thank you very much for this common Bhagavatam time. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.